Let's back up a bit. This story starts a little while ago. The Regent Theatre, Brisbane, 1983. I remember I was 4 years old. I remember walking with my dad in the summer sun for nearly an hour to get to the cinema. I remember the smell of the popcorn and taking a seat right at the back. This was my first ever time at the cinema. This was Return of the Jedi. I remember everything. It's hard even now to quantify what a life-changing experience that summer afternoon was for me. This is me, age 6, Christmas morning with my first ever Star Wars figures. Fast forwarding nearly 3 decades and watching my own children revel in the very same adventurous universe that means so much to me was as endearing as it was spooky. I'd often wondered how many other fans had stories similar to mine, or what it was that after so many years still fascinated and enraptured millions of people after all this time. It would take a pretty serious wake-up call to make me even think of making this film.
And they did a CAT scan on my brain, and I was told probably no more than 30 minutes later that they said, unfortunately, we have found something in your brain. You have a dark spot. It looks like you've had a bleed. And then I had another 2 CAT scans, and they said, look, unfortunately, we've discovered you have some sort of growth or tumour in your brain. And they decided not to remove it. They said, look, it's a risky operation, so we're going to leave it there. But it does, it changes you, and you start to think things about your life and go, well, is this my last opportunity to hold my children? And, you know, instead of thinking the worst, you've got to think positive. And when I stepped out of that hospital, I vowed to myself that I would chase my dreams. And my dreams were being a filmmaker and, you know, pursuing something in the Star Wars universe, because those are the things I was most passionate about my entire life, was Star Wars and film.
This is my son Jack. He's 6 now. I've always made a conscious effort to never push Star Wars onto any of my kids. Jack has always loved Star Wars though. I guess I always knew that when I wanted to do this trip, that I wanted Jack there with me.
Window shut. Decided we're going to America?
Yes.
Yeah?
The plan was to fly from Brisbane, Australia to California in the United States and speak to the people involved in making the Star Wars universe a reality, and those who love it like I do.
I think we might just chill. What do you reckon?
That's it. Yeah.
I think we should just chill. Well, I'm quite nervous. I'm not a good flyer. So I'm going to suck up my fear and get on the plane. And we're going to fly to America, aren't we? Seeing San Francisco, that's going to be exciting. Going to the Bay Area. Hopefully driving out to Lucasfilm and seeing the Yoda fountain. That should be exciting. I don't know. It's like going over to find something you've lost, you know, and being able to share that with Jack is just awesome. You know, he's a Star Wars fan, I'm a Star Wars fan. You know, being able to share that with Jack, you know, being able to take him on that, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing.
Well, that's nice boarding. Right there.
Yeah.
I'm Gavin McCaskill, I'm a Rebel Legion member.
Oh, g'day, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm wrapped, I'm about to fly out.
Yeah, man, it's the final celebration, but yeah, we're heading out, we're filming a documentary.
Yeah.
So, no, you're right, no, I can't wait, man, it's going to be a big day, I think. It's going to be massive, but no,
It'll be a great time.
I'm nervous, I've never been to the States. I haven't been to the
Must
States.
stop me and say
We
g'day.
never neither.
Well, we'll see
Never
you
know,
there then.
I'll see you at
See you in
Celebration.
Anaheim. Awesome. Guys. There we go. Hey. I know you like the window seat, but Daddy likes the aisle seat. Are we heading this way? Yeah. Yes.
Rancho, we're supposed to be touching down at 6:45 a.m. Friday morning. Expect to be disembarking the aircraft on schedule at 6:55 a.m. US, if you're a resident, welcome home. Thank you and good morning.
Courtesy shuttles on the islands in front of each terminal on the lower arrivals level. If a rental car is more your kind of transport, you've got plenty to choose from, as there are around.
Onwards and upwards. Come on, buddy. Move it.
I get stuck with driving.
Our first stop was at Rancho Obi-Wan, the world's most famous and extensive collection of Star Wars memorabilia and artifacts. This trove of treasures is the life's work of Rancho founder and director Steve Sansweet. I had always been curious as to what it was about Star Wars that affected him in such a life-changing way.
What was it when you walked out of the theatre for the first time when you saw it about Star Wars that you connected with the most?
Well, I wasn't in the theater. I got to see it because they did a screening for journalists in Los Angeles 2 weeks before Star Wars opened. So it was on the back lot of 20th Century Fox, and they invited all the business journalists. By then, Fox finally realized they had some fire and magic in their hands. And just like everybody else, I can still remember, you know, when the Star Destroyer passes over, it was like involuntarily we all lifted our heads in the audience, and then we all sort of giggled to ourselves because what are we doing looking up there? You know, it's on the screen. Yeah. And I remember leaving there and just feeling this sense of awe that I had never felt before in seeing a motion picture. It was so much fun. It was so exciting. The visual effects are things that I had never seen before. And of course, before I left, I asked if I could have my screening ticket. So that was at Toys R Us at their main headquarters store in New York City. And they called Lucasfilm in early 2008 and said, we're changing out for the Clone Wars. Would you like the piece? And this was the center of their display for Star Wars toys. And Lucasfilm, of course, licensing said, no. It took about a year and a half. And it was finally finished in November of 2011. We incorporated, we became a nonprofit, and we started membership for Rancho Obi-Wan in 2012. But it was because of that piece and that harder, and I was desperate to be able to show them both off. And so that's what we have. I mean, I had a wonderful job as a reporter and later as an editor at the Wall Street Journal, then in Los Angeles, initially in Philadelphia, and then Montreal. You know, I had always thought it would have been fascinating as the movies came out to be a fly on the wall or be behind the scenes and work there, and I don't know what kind of capacity while George was making episodes 4, 5, and 6, but it wasn't a conscious kind of thing in my mind. Little did I know that years later I would be working for Lucasfilm. I had been bureau chief in Los Angeles for the Journal for almost 9 years. The normal term was 3 to 4, and I got this call out of the blue from the head of publicity at Lucasfilm. I'd been working with Lucasfilm on books, and she said, you know, we just want to sort of search your mind and think, do you know anybody that might be interested in doing this sort of part-time job and going out to fan conventions, because we want to really control the story about the special editions. And, you know, we don't want somebody to do a lot, and the salary isn't much, and, you know, and Fox is paying for it. And I said, let's talk. As it turns out, that was sort of a conversation that wasn't completely true, because they were hoping there was some way I might be able to do the job. Anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. And this is the Empire Strikes Bike.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker.
if somebody is in your way and that doesn't scare them off, then you fire your addict. And if that doesn't work, you get them with your lightsaber. And if they're following you, you get them with your Darth Vader lightsaber. Well, I think among the highlights were working with George directly on some things, and meeting him, getting to see the creative genius that he is, and yet, you know, he's a real person. Watching him make the prequels was pretty amazing, and the interaction with marketing and with fans. I worked with him a lot on that. We started our Fan Film Awards, whereas other movie companies were suing fans for parody films. Lucasfilm went out and encouraged it. And I was involved very heavily in starting Celebration in 1998. Our first one was in 1999, along with the official fan club. So there were many firsts, and yet I knew I was following in the amazing footsteps of people who had gone before, the people who had started approaching fans in 1976, because Fox had no idea what they had on their hands or how to market this movie. And one guy in particular, a guy named Charlie Lippincott, who was head of marketing and merchandising and licensing and all that kind of stuff. And he was a comic book geek himself, went out to 4 or 5 fan conventions in 1976, and that really started the ball rolling. And it led to Lucasfilm being very conscious of the fans and having an internal fan club for and a newsletter for all those years during the initial 3 movies.
Y'all do have an automatic defibrillator here, right? Oh my gosh.
I just give you this warning that occasionally we get imperial interference. Let me handle it. I know how to deal with these guys. Yeah. Wow.
It's cupcakes.
It's hard to describe the sheer size of Rancho, and the items on display are only a fraction of what's here. Rancho estimates they have in excess of 2 million unique items in their possession, making it the most expansive collection of Star Wars artifacts in the world. The importance of a place like Rancho was made apparent to me as I saw items I hadn't seen since my childhood. Original figures, an Empire Strikes Back lunchbox, an Imperial shuttle from Jedi that my dad had brought me for my 6th birthday. He'd snuck it into the house for the night before, and there it was. Just like that day 30 years ago, the sudden rush of memories and senses was overwhelming. Steve and his team are building an Ark, an institute to safeguard and preserve a particular moment in time that future generations can visit and enjoy.
Yeah, a lot of people have that nostalgic feeling for Star Wars, and what the amazing thing about Star Wars and the visitors we get a lot of kids, and then we get a lot of moms and dads of adults along with we get like 3 generations, and to see that love and that passion for Star Wars shared among multiple generations is really heartening to me.
Sharing such positive aspects of my childhood with Jack is something I'll never forget. I hope one day we'll be back. Next stop was the offices of Lucasfilm and the now iconic Yoda fountain, one of only 3 in the world. It's hard to describe why this statue calls to fans around the globe. It's like the Mona Lisa of the Star Wars world. Its presence marks the site of where Star Wars is being made. It was a special moment for me to share with Jack, though he just thought it was a really great place to play. The Presidio offices are home to not only Lucasfilm, but it is also the head office for Industrial Light and Magic. We were fortunate enough to sit down with visual effects legends Steve Gawley and Charlie Bailey.
I have to ask, how did it come to pass that you were recommended to work on Star Wars?
I was an industrial design student at Cal State University Long Beach, and some classmates that were ahead of me a couple of years had been involved in filmmaking, and they needed an illustrator to help them out. So my classmate was Joe Johnston, and so he was hired. And then in 1975, they came back to get Joe, and they said, this time we have a movie money. It's called the Star Wars. And so Joe started illustrating, designing the spaceships based on Colin Cantwell's prototypes. And a couple weeks later, Joe came back and he said, say, if I give you a sketch, could you draw a side view of it, a top view, front view? I said, well, yeah, I could do that. He said, okay, good. So that's how I got involved. And being at the right place at the right time. And so Joe and I commuted 61 miles each way to work. And that's how we started out.
I'm a perfect case of it's being better to be lucky than good, because I'd worked with Lorne Peterson at a design office in Beverly Hills years ago. When he started working on Star Wars, he asked me if I wanted to come out and join him, but I didn't want to travel 30 miles every day to go to work, you know. I was working at Mattel as a toy designer. But then when he came up here to set up the shop for George for Empire, he asked me again. I said, okay, I'm on my way. 2 weeks I sold my house and my Lotus Cortina and packed up and headed north. And I had enough skill and talent to pull it off, but it was really a matter of luck, because there were certainly better people out there. But good old Lorne, you know, he brought so many of us together, so many disparate personalities and talents, and worked out great.
There seemed to be like a good sense of family and community amongst the ILM group especially, and you could say the Lucas family during that time. Would you say that to be true?
Oh yes. You know, imagine working with a group of people that probably 10, 12 departments, and each of those departments had really top-notch talent in them. And together, all these departments created puzzle pieces that then George Lucas would put together into a film. And I was always amazed by how talented all these other folks were. You know, they kind of like what I did, but I said, oh no, what you do is way cooler. I was always interested in the matte painting folks. Those guys just were fantastic. And the art department, of course, they led everything. Yeah, it was just a really great time, and we were all young. And
Richard Evelyn put together a chili cook-off about once a month. We'd just go out to a park and everybody bring a pot of chili and a bunch of beer. And Marcia Lucas put together a sailing party, and I don't know how often they went out. A few times a year they go out on the boat, and we had some sort of celebration at work almost weekly. We celebrated everybody's birthday, all the holidays. It was it really was. It was more family-like than my own family back in Ohio.
It was a challenging project for sure. And trying to get a shot, and the camera doesn't do this. Can we do this? And constantly be doing this, refining.
You know, guys like Joe Johnson, Neil Orotis, they gave us enough leeway to build things however we could.
That's how Han Solo's Falcon came about. And by the way, everybody in the shop dropped what they're doing, and everybody worked on that thing, and we got it done in like 5 weeks or so. John Dykstra and Joe Johnston came up with this other look. If you can believe it, they actually were considering using a B-17 fuselage with rocket motors on it. And John Dykstra said, no way, we can do way better than that. We were all fairly young. I think the average age was 26 years old. And that was the summer of '75. We put a big rig inside the bed of my truck, and I actually cantilevered the camera outside of the truck and into the trench. And I had to drive about 6 inches from the set straight. And it was more because of economics. They didn't have much money to rent a truck. I just happened to have a truck.
Rancho Obi-Wan and Lucasfilm are bucket list items for all die-hard Star Wars fans. And as silly as it sounds, it felt like hallowed ground for me. And I suspect a lot of other visitors as well. Growing up in Australia, on the other side of the world and in a different hemisphere, it's impossible not to feel like Star Wars was made on another planet by people I'd never know or meet. But being in the heartland of where the films were made, and hearing the stories of those who helped create and preserve the Star Wars universe, provided a bizarre sense of inclusion I didn't expect to find. Our experience in San Francisco was a great start to our grand pilgrimage.
I'm just gonna find my shit.
Yeah, I can't find the email that says door code. 2, 6, 7. The what thing? Turn left. 3, 2. The what key?
I found the toilet.
I'm BJ, by the way.
The camp out for prime seats to the opening stage of Celebration is an event unto itself. It's essentially the biggest slumber party ever, and the currency is pizza.
I feel a little bad taking the last one.
I am more than happy to be selfish here.
So when we sat down on that concrete floor, we instantly made friends with the people around us, and we started to tell stories. Of course, I told my story first, and then from there it was like being around old friends. You know, not just talking about Star Wars, but talking about our lives, you know, and how we have bonded over these films. And my son, who has been hesitant the entire trip with the people he's met so far, also instantly made friends. And there was a fellow by the name of Sean there.
I'm gonna be
A trooper Jedi? Wait, like Obi-Wan?
Yeah, trooper.
Because he had the armor, and then he was a Jedi too, so like that? Awesome.
And Jack and Sean connected instantly. And it reminded me of the connection that I have with Jack when I'm at home and we're playing with our Star Wars toys.
Sean flagged down the team from StarWars.com and told them a bit about the journey Jack and I were on. We gave a brief on-camera interview.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Saga project?
So literally what it is about father and son, across myself and my son Jack.
That's fantastic.
Thank you so much, it was awesome.
Thank you so much. It was so
Lovely
nice
to meet you.
Thank you.
I've been a long-time follower and fan of the work Andy and Matt have been doing. It was an unexpected thrill to be able to chat with them about what we were doing.
Awesome.
As everyone started to get settled and comfortable, we decided to ask people on the lines to sign their names or messages to our posters, or to even just tell us a bit about themselves. I quickly started to get a read of the room. There was a giddy and nervous energy to everyone, but they were comfortable. and so was I.
And my birthday's on Friday, and I got my sons, and I was like, Star Wars Celebration, birthday, my hometown, my boys, you know, what could be better?
This is actually really demented.
Just go to my Saga morning
Just before midnight, a familiar face and an even more familiar voice arrived to mingle with the sleepy masses. James Arnold Taylor, voice actor from the Clone Wars, stopped by to talk with the fans.
Yes.
Yeah, pillow? Is that Chewbacca? She's laying on Chewbacca's head.
No, she's laying on an Ewok.
You know, this is my second time hosting Star Wars Celebration, but it never gets old. It's always exciting. And you know why? Because of this. Look at this. There's literally thousands of people around us waiting, sleeping out overnight to see something magical tomorrow morning. And you know the magic because it's affected you so deeply.
Of course, yes.
And now you're sharing it with your son. And this is the whole part. And you know what? I guarantee. Now the crazy thing is by the time you all see this, you will have already known what we don't know right now.
So true.
But the truth is it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be there's going to be some tears shed. There's going to be some goosebumps and some hair raised on the back of the necks. And it's all why? Because of Star Wars, and we love Star Wars. I should be talking as Obi-Wan Kenobi, shouldn't I, in this whole thing? I sense that I should have been doing that. Well, we could start over, but no, we won't.
Awesome. And my son's asleep down there.
Yeah.
So that's Jack, Anakin.
Jack.
He's out.
He is out.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Obi-Wan is his favourite character of all the Star Wars things.
I didn't even have to use the Jedi mind
No,
trick.
Obi-Wan from Clone Wars is his favourite character.
Mine too. No. And then Plo Koon. Now I'm also the voice of Plo Koon. I don't know if you knew that or if you knew that. Master Plo Koon. So now what they do, Matt Wood, who is the genius sound designer at Lucasfilm, takes all of that stuff, and David Acord, they designed the sound for the show. So my voice starts as a Ian McKellen voice.
So basically, I say the lines right here. May the force be with you.
Then they put it through a processor, and then it's pitched down, and it sounds kind of crazy. And
May the force be with you.
It becomes a bigger, deeper Plo Koon. Little trick there, a little behind the scenes.
May the force be with you, and you, and you, and you, and
all these thousands of people here. Pleasure.
Yeah, I'll find you. All right. See you again, I'm sure.
I'm not gonna lie, Jack was pretty bummed about missing James. But as the night pressed on, the buzzing grew quieter, excitement gave way to fatigue, and casting an eye over the sea of air mattresses, sleeping bags, and fold-out chairs, I was beginning to feel like a newbie at this.
We got to meet great people. I got to live a dream. I got to meet people from StarWars.com, which was fantastic. The night was very long and hard, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Wrecked. Tired. Very tired.
But the night was interesting.
It's 10 o'clock yet. Midnight.
I should have brought more than a pillow. The lights never went out. The talking never fully died down. It was rough. But all things end. And truthfully, I'd do it again.
And when this morning we finally started to move, you could feel that excitement, that tiredness we'd been feeling all night, just disappeared.
But the opening ceremony was about to begin. This is what we were here for.
they brought out the cast, and that was very exciting. That was a bit of a how would you put it? A bit of a geek moment for me, seeing the new cast and the old cast on stage. And then when that trailer came on.
The Force is strong in my family. My father hasn't. I have it. My sister has it. You have that power too.
And when that finished, I just remember crying and knowing that I had been taken back to my childhood, that I was Jack's age. And they did it. They had done it. Jack was a bit lost, I think. I think he was more trying to comprehend the situation.
It's a little microphone.
It's going to pick up our sound when we're talking.
Okay.
So I have to yell. Hey, buddy. What did you think of the new Star Wars trailer this morning?
Scary.
Why was it scary?
I mean, brave.
You were brave, were you? Yeah? Why was it scary?
Of Darth Vader's helmet, now not scary.
So Darth Vader's helmet was scary, but not anymore? Yeah, are you brave now? And what did you think of all the cool spaceships?
Cool.
They were cool?
But Daddy, how did you like the new troopers suits?
I loved the new Troopers suits. I thought they were very cool.
And the TIE Fighter ones, it has a bit of red on it.
It does have a bit of red on it.
We talk about Star Wars.
Is that what you love?
Yeah.
I thought you'd want to talk about family. You miss Mummy, don't you?
Yeah.
But you want to talk about Star Wars?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Are you pumped and jazzed after today?
Yeah.
Who would you be?
Obi-Wan.
And
I mean...
You'd be Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Really? And who would Daddy be?
Yoda.
Wow.
Before heading back to the convention hall, we were going to visit someone connected to the Star Wars universe that is very close to my heart. Perry King played Han Solo in the Star Wars radio dramas. These recordings were an escape for me during hard times in my youth.
When my parents were going through their divorce, and it's battle. It was just a constant battle of who was getting screwed over and where the kids would side. And I happened to stumble across the Star Wars radio dramas at the time. And there was many a night that I would whack on my headphones and listen to them. And that was my little escape of a nighttime. That helped me get to sleep.
Perry's version of Han was the hero I wanted to be. Meeting him was like having a character from a childhood daydream step outside of my head.
Well, first of all, I remember meeting George Lucas, and of course nobody knew anything about anything at that time, so I knew nothing about the movie. It isn't the iconic movie that it is to all of us today. I didn't see the audition, I just didn't get the part. And years and years later, they sent me the audition. They were doing a big master of Star Wars with extras included, and they asked me if they could use that audition on there. And I saw it, and I thought, no wonder I didn't get the part. Oh my God, I was so bad in that audition.
That's impossible. What is going on?
Non-actors, non-showbiz professionals don't realize that the job of acting is being told no. That's really where you earn your money. The doing of the job that you get, whatever jobs that might be, that's the vacation, that's the fun part. The real job is auditioning and hearing, no thanks, go away, we don't want you. You hear that all day long. I've heard that for 50 years, you know. So if you can't erase that right away and move on and forget about it, you can't survive psychologically. So by then, I don't remember ever thinking about it as a job that I hadn't gotten or something.
In the end, you sort of technically did get the role of Han Solo in the radio dramas.
The most fun acting in the whole world, I feel, is radio acting. It's absolutely the most filled with the pure joy of acting. The joy of acting is pretending, playing games like you played as a kid. On radio, there's only one technical requirement of radio acting. You have to learn how to turn pages silently. And it's a technique, and it doesn't take very long to learn it. One of the things I learned to do is spritz my pages so that we're all slightly wet so they can't crackle as I move them. And then you just learn how, when you're reading, you learn how to pick it up and move it absolutely silently and go to the next page. Once you've got that down, all that's left is the sheer joy of pretending to be the character in the situation. And we had so much fun doing that. So what I'm saying is I'd rather have done the radio than the film, I think, honestly. And I don't know why Harrison Ford didn't do the radio. I never did learn, but I was always grateful to him that he didn't do it, so I could do it.
Was that around the time you started to look at Olive Crest homes for abused children?
I was really hoping to find one cause, one place that I could give all the time and money I could afford to one group. And I met Olive Crest Homes for Abused Children and the people who started it. I now know lots of young adults that I watched as kids grow up through the Olive Crest system that tell me straight out, they said, without Olive Crest, I'd be dead. I'd be a drug addict. I'd be in prison. I'd be a prostitute, They say, and instead they're good, solid, functioning citizens with young families often of their own and stuff. So I've seen Olive Crest break that cycle of child abuse.
If you could send out a message to an abused child who's too scared to speak out, what would you say to them?
I guess I want to tell them they're not alone. They're not alone in two ways. One, there's people out there that will do anything they can to help them. But also, there's a world of people who've been through it and have come out the other end and survived it, You think is that a good message?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for that confirmation of what I said.
Sorry.
Take your time, man. There's no shame in feeling stuff. None at all. What could be better?
My last question is, if you were asked to do the radio dramas for the new film, would you do it? Would you be Han Solo again?
Yes, I sure would. Let's hope they ask.
I just never heard it before. I just wanted to hear it.
Lee guy, as soon as I walked into that room, I heard Han Solo from the radio dramas. And for me personally, knowing that he's a part of a charity group that help abused children, that really hit something home for me with what I lived with in my own childhood with my dad. I never want my son to ever experience anything like that, what I lived with my father. But yeah, it was nice to hear, Perry making that comment saying, you're not alone. And, having
one of your heroes say something like that's pretty cool.
Celebration was now already more than halfway over, and after spending the morning with Perry, I was even more determined to hit the floor of Celebration and find out what drew these people here. This was it, the largest gathering of Star Wars fans in the world. I wanted to know their stories. What was it about Star Wars that they found so compelling and so enduring?
Up loving it. My dad loved it, so I was kind of like born with no choice. I watched it from the time I was little, and it's just phenomenal. I remember, like, the first time I really remember watching it was when I was like 4, and watching the lightsaber battles were just amazing.
I grew up with it. You know, my entire childhood from 1977 through the 80s was built around Star Wars, whether it was a Dixie cup that I was drinking with my orange juice at breakfast, or you know, the newest Leia Bush figure that came out when I was in 3rd grade, or, you know, the Jabba Hutt that I picked up at Toys R Us. I mean, it was just part of my entire existence.
My dad's a huge fan, and we do this for charity, and he's really into this stuff, so I just come along with him. And
because I grew up with it, and one of my my sister used to babysit me growing up, and that was one of the babysitting tools was to watch Star Wars over and over 5 or 6 times. And if she stopped it, I asked her to rewound it again, so I watched it over and over again.
Well, personally, I think that it's just a really nice story about good fighting evil, and I think that that's something that, you know, it's an iconic kind of story that, you know, you got the hero's journey, and it's a story that everybody can connect to.
I've been a big fan since I was a little boy, and now I pass it on to my little son who loves Star Wars. And it's just fun, and it's fun to fantasize and sometimes imagine yourself out in outer space, saving the world. You know, everybody wants to be a hero.
I'm old enough to remember when it came out in '77 and the lines, and going out to do errands with the folks. A few hours later coming back and the folks thinking that the people were still in line. It's like, no, that's a new crowd of people. And it was just a 24-hour-a-day kind of thing. And it just didn't go away. Like 2-3 months down the road, it was still a line of people.
There's so much that you can be a part of, and everybody loves each other. It's not really we like you as long as you do this. We're all just really accepting of everyone, and that's very nice.
Because it's a part of everybody's childhood. I think it resonates with everybody's infancy and brings them back to that era, and it's just joy.
I grew up watching Star Wars. It used to be on every holiday on TV, and I would make my whole family watch it, all 3 of us.
It was always just one of those things where, getting around the TV, watching Star Wars, actually getting to enjoy it, and you relate to the characters. They're great. I mean, it's a brilliant trilogy.
I went to the first screening of Star Wars back in '77 and just been in love with it since. The technology back then, I went with my friend and we kind of both looked at each other every time we saw something really cool, and we just kind of went, "Did you see that?"
While I was meeting as many people as I could and beginning to maybe understand the common thread for all of us, I was told there was someone else I needed to talk to, Gabe and his father, Donnie.
Who's your favourite character?
The Emperor.
The Emperor. And why the Emperor?
Because he shocks people.
He shocks. Donnie, could you tell us a little bit about Gabe's journey?
Well, Gabe's journey started when he was about 6 months old. He was diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis complex, which is a disease that causes tumors to grow in the body. He currently has brain tumors, heart tumors, kidney tumors, stomach tumors, and they recently, probably about 3-4 months ago, they found one in his cheek as well. So every day's a struggle. Mentally, he's about 3 to 4 years old. As you could tell from the interview, he doesn't remember a whole lot of stuff. We work with him a lot, and he does special education, and there's no time frame for his disease. So every day is a new day, and so we just kind of work with him and try to make sure that he gets what he wants. And I mean, the help of everybody around here, this has been a great experience all around. So,
what does it mean for you to be here today for him?
It means a lot. I mean, it's been tremendous. I mean, it's been great all around. I mean, it's meant a lot.
What are the plans for the rest of the day?
Show. See what we can find. Take Gabe and let him get some souvenirs and meet some people, do some pictures, and just have fun.
Everyone I had talked to so far had spoken consistently and fondly of how they'd discovered or been introduced to Star Wars as a child. It's the same for me too, but it also explains a lot. Star Wars found its way to us at our most pure and showed us a galaxy of heroes and villains, princesses and rogues, courage and hope. Why wouldn't we try to hold on to that? Why wouldn't we seek to pass that on to our own children? I don't think there's any singular reason to explain the enduring and even escalating fandom behind Star Wars, but seeing the way the community have rallied around Gabe and Donnie, for a moment it doesn't seem to matter why it exists, it's just good to know that it does.
I wanted to pick people that meant something to me. Yeah. But George had the dream. It was them that made it happen. Yeah. It was people like Charlie. It's people like Dave. These guys are legends. Yeah. They deserve that recognition. And I am beyond happy and proud that I got to talk to them. That to me says a lot that Jack instantly bonded with him. You know, that Jack, because Jack just doesn't give his respect to anybody. He doesn't. I'm waiting for it. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. You fix another lightsaber, and I'm sure he's going to be loving you. He will. He won't. He hasn't grasped the concept, and that's, I think, a part of the reason I'm a little bit down on the trip, because I had it in my mind for something with Jack, but at the same time, I knew I was running the gauntlet, bringing him with me. But at the same time, like a moment like today, I've got it permanently there, my son with my childhood hero, and for one moment, that's all it takes. Yeah. It's that moment, and Mark Hamill never comes to Australia, ever. The last time he did it was back in 1980 for Empire Strikes Back. He doesn't do promotional tours. I got to meet someone who influenced me in my life today in a very big way, who gave me hope.
My son, and as soon as we walked into the room for the photo, Jack goes, "That's Luke Skywalker, but he's old." And I'm like, "Yes, he is, Jack." He's like, "He's going to be that old in the new movie?" And I'm like, "Yes, he is, Jack." And then, Mark, I said, "What's your name?" He says, "Jack." And I said, "What's your middle name?" He's like, "Anakin." He's like, "Oh, you're like my dad." And Jack's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And he's like, "Do you want to sit on my lap?" And Jack's like, "No, I'm too shy. Can I just stand next to you?" And he's like, "Sure, buddy." And then Mark says, "Put your arm around me." And I was like, "Oh God." And just right there and then, I physically touched my childhood hero. And I was like, man, I have just put my arm around Luke Skywalker. That is freaking amazing. You know, and Jack was very happy, and I was happy, and it was just that one moment together we realized what we were sharing. And that was so beautiful, and I will never ever forget that moment. I don't think Jack will either too, because he asked for a second photo, so he could have a photo in his room at home, and I've got a photo from my room at home. So he's like, don't forget my second photo, Daddy. I want one in my room too, with me, with you, and Luke Skywalker. And that was so cool.
David, what's today's day?
Today is Sunday. It's the last day of celebration. There's us. So here we are at Celebration.
Yeah, cool. Right?
It was our last day of celebration. While no media was allowed to speak to principal cast lest the spoiler let slip, it did give us an opportunity to talk to performers who'd had their lives radically changed by even the shortest experience on a Star Wars film. We'd soon discover that in the Star Wars universe, there are no small parts, and everyone has a story.
Why do you think people connect with the Star Wars story?
Do they? Why in the world would they do that? I don't have an answer for that.
I didn't think when I did it I had any idea the depth of it all. It was 2 weeks in Yuma, Arizona, in a very uncomfortable costume, and that I reluctantly kind of agreed to do it when my father offered me the chance to stand in for him, and then which turned into a stunt doubling job, and then my creature role is Klaatu.
It's it's kind of surreal, I must say, and especially the way I got into the movie was because Corey D. Williams, Billy D. Williams' son, and I had a band in the '80s, and we used to play at Billy's house where Corey lived at the time, and Billy was a big fan of ours and really supported our music. And at that point, Corey had said, "Oh, we're in the midst of music and we're creative and we're at a pinnacle right now." And Billy said, "Why don't you guys just come together, bring the instruments, and sing to everyone on the set?" So for me, that was incredible because I was in my element to begin with, felt comfortable.
I don't think I really had any really understood the depths of it and how far this whole thing would go at that point when I did it. But it's amazing. It's an amazing journey.
Yeah, I didn't know what any of these movies were about. I was at Lucasfilms with my colleague, and we were producing a radio drama. I did a lot of radio drama. And so we were producing a rather complicated but marvelous drama. And while we were there, what's-his-name came in. Who was the guy who did all the sound effects for the movie?
Ben Burtt.
Ben Burtt came in and asked me if I would I come in and try out for a voice. And I said, "Oh, we're doing something over there." But my friend said, "Oh, no, go on over, come back." So I went over, and he said, he showed me a picture. And he said, how would this sound? And I gave him a voice. And the voice was exactly the way it ought to be. And he accepted it on the spot. And, well, of course, he talked to George first, but they both accepted it. But even before that, they said, "Well, try another voice." And that was Bib Fortuna. The other one was General Akbar. And I said, "Is that enough? Are you finished now?" And they said, "Yeah." So I went back to producing a radio drama where I belong. And they said, "You got both parts." Well, I took that as a compliment, and I knew these people very well, and so I gave them a voice that they couldn't resist for both of those, and that's how it happened.
I've never seen such a workforce like that. Beside the actors, the people behind it is just amazing. It's like they build a monolith and tear it down. They build a metropolis in a sense, And it's, you know, it's just amazing how much worth ethic and creativity they have. It's kind of inspirational, you know.
It's great. You know, this is my 4th celebration. It's probably one of the busier ones. The craziest was Celebration 2. It was just nuts. I was like, I had no idea what a convention was, and I just landed there, and suddenly I was being chased by like all these stormtroopers down the street. So that was a shock. Yeah, just hearing that I got the role was like, I was jumping up and down and just screaming, and my mum was there too. We were all just like, ah!
Hera is truly an amazing character, given that she's so nurturing and kind on the one hand, and she's such a stealth fighter on the other. So she manages to combine very, very unique, interesting elements to form a whole person who's really wonderful.
Any story where I hear of someone, you know, overcoming adversity and striving to experience more joy and love and, I guess, the light side. So I'm always inspired to hear about that, whatever story it is.
I think it connects us and unifies us through its themes, the stories about transformation and growth. It teaches us about discipline. I think it's a great thing for kids to get behind, and adults can bond with their children. I think it appeals to all of us because it's about the universal human experience.
Probably the thing that I connect with the most is Luke's journey. I really am a fan of the heroic struggle, and that we each have one of them. And I think it's cool to see him in action and see his struggle and see how he gets to the other side.
Yep.
Of course he is. That's what I was getting you. The blackmail reel gets bigger.
I just want to see you cook a healthy meal.
I was actually thinking about poaching an egg.
The chicken noodles.
That's where our budget's going.
Well, chicken noodles were an integral part of the budget. That's how we survived in America. Noodles.
Chicken noodles.
That pretty much is the budget now, isn't it?
Yeah, well. $2 for 24 bags. Hugh, good.
Hugh.
But everybody I've spoken to, you know, just those little moments to be lucky, you know. And Jack, yes, there indirectly in the background. And I was hoping, you know, and there were moments, you know, but I think that bond will get stronger as the years go on. I just wanted him to have a good time, and you know, it's hard because I wanted to touch something great. And I wanted him to be there for those moments. First time I've taken him away from his mother.
But it's also the first time you've been away from me.
It has. This is the longest stretch. The last time was when I was in hospital. And it's killing her. Because she wants me to be happy doing this film. And, you know, and she can tell I'm struggling a little. Being sick didn't help. Getting off that plane and being sick with the flu, Jack being sick, you know. Sorry. Star Wars is a big part of my life. I know that. But my son means more to me than that. And sometimes you can lose sight of that.
You maybe want to go lay on your bed and give your son a hug.
That would be a very good idea.
just like that, Celebration had come to an end. It was a bittersweet moment. A chapter was closing on a dream nearly 2 decades in the making, and even then, I wasn't sure how to feel. As the trip was in its last days, I had some time to reflect on what it had all meant. We got to see a few sights and visit Disneyland. And with the pressure of making a film slowly dissipating, we were starting to have fun. It was that short, precious time with my son that everything just sort of started to click.
What about the Pirates ride? The Pirates of the Caribbean?
Daddy was scared.
No, you were scared in it.
No, you were. Then you flashed in the water and someone grabbed and picked you up.
And before I knew it, it was time to go home. This was never just about making a Star Wars documentary. I wanted to do something big, because I was scared of dying young and missing out on a life with my kids. I'd followed my lifelong passion around the world, met wonderful people and kindred spirits, and was lucky enough to have had my son along for the ride with me. But standing at the end of the road and looking back, my perspective had shifted. A close call had spurred me into taking a personal journey, but at the end what I felt I achieved was something more for my children. A cautionary tale to follow your dreams because you want them, not because you think they might be taken from you. It's not the ending I thought I'd get, but it's the end that as a father, I needed. It was time. The midnight screening for The Force Awakens was only hours away, and the party was in full swing. I wanted more than anything to file into the cinema and see the film with the excited masses. But I'd promised Jack we'd see it together on opening day morning, and I didn't intend on breaking that promise. It was time to go.
I don't want to even blink. Oh, Jack, I've got to get your popcorn.
So now, what is your expectation for tomorrow?
To be taken back to my childhood.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
That's what I want.